What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Faith in 15 or Less, your biblically based midweek faith boost with me, Jasmine Marie. This is episode 31. It's February, so if you made it through January without a planner and you feel like your life is frazzled, there's so much to do, you need to get the intention planner. Get some organization and reflection in your life. And you can purchase it at jazzthepoet.com/works. Get yours today, available in men and women versions. Okay, one more announcement before we get started because this just came in fresh off the Amazon truck. It's here, y'all! My long-awaited devotional, Uncapped Faith, is in production. This is the proof copy. These are the first two proof copies, hence the not for resale line from Amazon. But I'm meeting with the marketing team later this month to make this available to you sooner than later. So thank y'all. Y'all the first to know. So thank you guys for being along with me on this journey. That's why this faith series was started. And I will get this to you guys soon. Okay, now that is out the way, if you did not watch last week's video, pause right now. Stop. Do not proceed. Do not pass go. Go back and watch last week's video because this is part 2. And all month long, y'all know we are talking about faith fatigue. So I will reread the definition of faith fatigue for you. And it is the feeling that comes to those who have believed and experienced God's faithfulness, but are struggling to trust and maintain hope in the current moment. So if this fits with you, you are a person who is just tired. You're doing the stuff. You're doing all the things. You're walking in what God called you to do, but you are tired. You are weighted. This month's series is for you, and we're going to pick up today. As y'all know, we're looking at Galatians 6:9, which I will reread for you, starting at verse 7 and then at verse 10. But before that, I just want to say how last week's message touched me. And that's why, if you did not watch it, if you did not sit with the prompts I gave you at the end, please go back and do that. Because I really sat with, if we are reaping, then we have to figure out what we're planting. And when I sat down and assessed what it is that I was planting, I realized I've been planting lack, right? I've been speaking lack over my finances. I'm often talking about what I need. I'm looking at lack every day when I'm like waking up in the morning, checking my bank account anxiously, right? That's what I'm producing. That's what I'm sowing. And so that's what I'm reaping. So last week's message really helped me to assess, right, what it is that I'm sowing into my ground versus like gratitude, right? Versus when we talk about well-doing, right? Versus focusing on the things that God gave me to do. Like this book, it was like, I'm talking about all the things I don't have, and God gave me something to move on. And where am I at with it? Why is it stalled? What am I not doing to push it forward? What am I avoiding because it's unknown territory and it really scares me, right? Those were some things that I had to sit with for myself because I really took what last week's message said and I really sat with the questions. And so hopefully it blessed you as much as it blessed me. And this week we're going to dive into the weariness part. So let me reread this for you and let's dive back in. Verse 7 of Galatians 6 in the Message version reads as follows. Don't be misled. No one makes a fool of God. What a person plants, he will harvest. The person who plants selfishness, ignoring the needs of others, ignoring God, harvests a crop of weeds. All he'll have to show for his life is weeds. But the one who plants in response to God, letting God's Spirit do the growth work in him, harvests a crop of real life, eternal life. And our verse of focus. So let's not allow ourselves to get fatigued doing good. At the right time, we will harvest a good crop if we do not give up or quit. Right now, therefore, every time we get the chance, let us work for the benefit of all, starting with the people closest to us in the community of faith. And I want to highlight Galatians 6:9 in particular, and I'm going to read that again in the King James Version. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. There's so much in these verses, particularly in Galatians 6:9. And as you know, last week we focused on looking at reaping and working and well-doing. And today we're going to dive into weariness. Here we go. What does it mean to be weary? I consider it spiritual exhaustion, but my Bible has a little note, and this is the Women's Study Bible. And so I want to read the note for Galatians 6:9 and 10. It says, busy Christians often grow tired, but they should not become weary. Tired describes a physical condition, while weary describes a spiritual attitude. Fatigue. There is much work to be done. Paul encouraged Christians to persevere. They were not to relax their standards or give up doing the good they had learned. This mandate is not an invitation to become a workaholic, but rather a pep talk to continue walking by faith without becoming discouraged or losing heart. Trust God for a harvest of eternal blessings and the strength to do his will. I love that. I specifically love the part about not relaxing our standards and not becoming discouraged or losing hope, because that's exactly what we feel when we become spiritually exhausted, right? And doing the work that God is calling us to do. And so I want to give you some tips that I believe the Bible also reveals for how not to become weary. And then I'm going to get out your way. So the first thing, if we are going to work to not become weary, we need to get in a community of spirit-led people. So just like in Galatians 6:1, where it says to use the community of people to hold each other accountable, to have a place where God's Spirit is leading us with gentleness, we need that too. For every time we pour out, we need to be poured back into, right? And so whether your community is your spouse or your close friends or your church family or a prayer group, right? Who are the people you can go to pour back into you? We need community of people who are led by God's Spirit, who can speak the word of the Lord back into our lives and help us refuel our spirit. We can't just be there for everybody else. We need someone to be there for us as well. The second thing that we need to do to avoid growing weary is to prioritize rest. And rest should come at the end of each day, especially weekday, and at the end of the week. And we see this in Genesis 2:1-3. In Genesis, it says that God rested. After he made the heavens and the earth, he rested from the work that he had done, and he established the seventh day as the Sabbath holy day because it was the day that he rested. We also see throughout creation that at the end of each day, God saw his work, he reflected on what he did, and he noted that it was good. He only had time to sit back and reflect because he was pausing, right? God could have created the whole world in one day, but he chunked it, right? He chunked the work. This is all ways to help us on resting. And this is all in the devotional, which I promise y'all is coming out soon. So don't be working until it's time for bed, right? Give yourself, whether it's 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes at the end of your day, to exhale, to breathe, to reflect, to rest. Watch a show, journal, read a book, read a scripture, right? Just do something to take a breather. And then have a day on the weekend, some hours on the weekend where you can rest, because resting is just important as the work. And then the third thing that we can do to help avoid becoming weary is to set boundaries. There is a series by Mike Todd called Stride, where he talks about how Jesus never ran. It never says, and Jesus moved swiftly to the next location, right? There was so much that Jesus did and had to do, right, while he was here. And he accomplished it in 3 years, and he walked or caught the boat from location to location, right? He walked at the pace of grace. He paced himself. Pacing was a boundary, right? I'm not going to move faster than this because I want the people to be able to move with me. If we can't move at the pace of the people, then we won't be moving toward that direction. So he had a boundary as to how fast he was willing to go. And he never left anybody behind. Another thing to help you with setting boundaries is to go back to Galatians 6:4 to fulfill the work that God has given you. Just because people are asking you to do it doesn't mean that that's what God is giving you. And if you're going to fulfill the work God is giving you in excellence, again, you can't do that if you have other things taking your priority, your time, your energy. That's why we have to set the boundaries. The other thing is to check our motives, right? We can set boundaries if we assess when we're asked to do something. Why are we doing this? Are we people pleasing? Verse 4 in the Passion Translation talks about making God proud and not trying to please or fulfill others or impress others. Are we feeding our pride and our self-righteousness to be able to say, I did this and I did that, right? That will help us lax on our boundaries because our focus is on self-fulfillment and not God's work. Are we doing this for gain? If I do this, then, right, I could do that. Matthew 6:33 says, seek you first the kingdom of heaven and all its righteousness, and everything will be added unto you. So we don't need to seek gain by pleasing other people. We can seek God and his work for us above all else. And so that's all I have for you today. I feel like there were so many points and so much to break down, but I feel like this is really going to help us on our walks because, again, I'm in this moment with you. And so I'm going to leave you with some reflections, and then I'm going to get out of your way. Okay, here are 3 declarations. Repeat after me. I will connect with my community of spirit-led people. I will prioritize rest. And number 3, I will set boundaries and focus on the work God has given me. That's all I have for you. See you next week. Be blessed.